Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
We're currently being joined by healthy living expert Dr. Matt Chalmers. And Dr. Chalmers, thanks so much for being a part of our show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, this is a question, I think it's an age-old question. It's a question that I've kind of been interested by because it feels like there's a new study that comes out every few months that says alcohol is beneficial if you have it in moderation. It could help your body. And then there's immediately a study that follows and says alcohol is actually terrible for you. And every time you drink it, you're taking years off your life. So kind of where are we at this point, at this juncture, with this very fascinating and eclectic conversation?
So what we're finding is there's a significant benefit for a small amount of alcohol in our nervous system. And what ends up happening is it shifts you from what's called fight, flight, freeze, or sympathetic nervous system over to parasympathetic, which is resting, digesting. And this transformation is extremely important. And you can feel this. So when you take that first drink and you feel the day wash off, you feel your body completely unwind, that's what we're talking about. And that's really important. Outside of that, what we found research-wise is that it's pretty toxic for us.
Interesting. So the nervous system wouldn't be what I would initially, attribute anything with drinking any liquid for. So exactly how does that relationship in our bodies work, and how quickly does that operate when we have our first drink?
It's pretty immediate. So, like, a lot of people will take that first drink, and when they set the glass down, that's when they just kind of go, and they can just feel the day kind of wash off them. That's the change we're looking for. And so it happens pretty immediately, but it's very, very, very small amounts. It's like the first sip of red wine or something. So if you want to have a wine or a beer at the end of the day and it does that to you, that piece is good. It's the rest of the chemistry that's bad.
Interesting. So when we talk about this, what's that kind of number that would be ideal on a day-to-day basis to balance that, to have the benefit of what the nervous system would be experiencing, but also to avoid, the carb load or obviously the toxicity of having too much of this in your system at any one time?
You're looking at about half a glass of wine. That's about what it is for most people. So, like I said, it's a very small amount to get the full benefit.
Interesting. So that's certainly, for somebody who's trying to learn about this, understand what the benefits could be and how to maybe moderate that. How often, like obviously I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go home and, pour myself a half glass of wine every single day. But if I'm having like a beer every 3 days, do I get similar benefits?
You can. The big thing is not the alcohol. The big thing is that our mind significantly ties to it. It's the separation of my work day is over and my home day is beginning. And that's really where we start to notice this. And you can psychologically tie that to other things. If you're like, hey, when I get home, this is my get home routine. I have I have a cup of tea, and I sit in this chair, and I just relax for 10 minutes, and that's my process. That will work as well. So it's really the shift from stressed out, sympathetic to parasympathetic is really the benefit that we're going for.
It's crazy. So Dr. Matt Chalmers is joining us on the phone line here. Okay, so I'm trying to kind of come to, wrap my mind around this. So the benefit is the mental aspect of what that end of day drink signifies to us mentally. Is this some kind of additional placebo effect potentially? Like if instead of, a glass of wine or a half glass of wine, we're talking about hey, you decide to have a chocolate bar or something like that. Is it like if our brains associate with anything else at around the same time, could it have the same effect on us even without the drink?
It can. Meditation can do this. There's a lot of things that can shift you back over. Exercise is phenomenal at doing this. So there's a lot of other ways to get this neurologic shift. It's just when we start looking at, when students say there is a benefit, that's pretty much the only benefit we have. Everything else biochemically is really bad.
All right. Well, that's interesting. And obviously that would make sense, even though I know many people to enjoy a good drink and think that it does help unwind them. Very well could be something else. From your perspective as somebody who is a healthy living expert, what would be another, kind of way? You mentioned exercise. And, especially this time of the year, so many people kind of get started into workout routines, but it becomes, difficult for them to either maintain that. Is there kind of a perfect marriage with physical activity and not, having it be super duper difficult for people who might be overweight or have not been in shape in a long time to kind of get that ball rolling, to feel those effects that you mentioned about exercise kind of helping our body feel better in our nervous system as well?
So we do this a lot. So you can tell people to go take a walk. You can tell them, do a dance class. It's really kind of what appeals to that person. That's how we get the consistency. Is like, what do you like? If I was to go try to dance every day, I wouldn't work out every day. I like to lift weights, so I lift weights. If someone wants to dance, if they want to, jog, walk, whatever their thing is that they're like, oh, I like that one the most. Just start moving. Yoga is phenomenal too. Just get out and start moving for 20 minutes a day. And that's the greatest way to start really kind of changing the trajectory of your entire health.
It's quite fascinating how much different I even feel, and I like to think that I'm in somewhat decent shape, but I just started a CrossFit class to kind of really whip me in shape. And man, it's terrible when I'm in the midst of it, but there's some sort of just like, I think this may be what we're talking about here, this kind of release when I'm done, when I get to sit down, when I'm having, my protein shake, and it's like, wow, I actually ended up doing that. So is there any final tip before we let you go, Dr. Chalmers, that you would, suggest to people? Because obviously we're talking about kind of a neurological situation that could be beneficial to people in the way that they feel, and it's not necessarily tied directly into the intake of alcohol. What is, maybe one other thing that you would suggest to people who are trying to get that benefit of that release that we are talking about here?
So, like I said, meditation is fantastic. Trying to find a time where you can sit and kind of center yourself and let the rest of the day kind of move away. The thing about that makes it easier for movement is that our brains are literally built to a way where if you start to move, you will suppress the temporal lobe, which is fear, hate, anger, terror, panic, like the amygdala is in there. And so movement of any kind is going to be the number one thing you can do for depression, for shifting your nervous system back over, or for overall health, is just start moving.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. It's great advice. We started talking about, is alcohol beneficial to you? We finished with just get moving, and you're going to reap the benefits of that. Dr. Matt Chalmers, thanks so much for the information today. Very interesting stuff, and we really appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.